Real estate agents, if you're struggling with getting quality leads to grow your business and to get you more clients and ultimately the lifestyle and the business that you want to run in your market, then this video is going to walk through the three different systems or three of the different marketing systems that you can use: email marketing, social media, organic, and then also paid ads on socials. The pros and cons of those so you can understand which one is best for you. I work with a lot of different real estate agents and I talk to thousands, and I often find that everyone's trying to do everything in all places, and it's really tough to compete when there's 1,000 agents in your market and a good few of them are experts in just one of these different marketing funnels. Because if you try and separate your day and your marketing time into all these three separate things, you're never going to really master one of them. And somebody else in your market is going to dominate that one field, whether it's email or organic or paid or something else even. So you can't expect to get better results than the person who's focused on one specific marketing tactic. And I'm going to walk through the benefits of and the cons ultimately of these different marketing funnels so you can figure out which one is best for you. Because ultimately you have to find what's best for what you are skilled at and how you want to grow your business, because otherwise it's going to be very difficult to start to see better results. You're just going to be chasing leads fruitlessly forever, like I'm sure a lot of real estate agents feel like they're doing right now. And I've generated tens of thousands of dollars through all of these different marketing funnels. So I have some experience in understanding how that works. And also, if you don't know me, my name's Jarvis. I run Jarvis Media. I've helped real estate agents with some of these results down below, which are actually outdated, but I just haven't had time to update that slide there. But we've done a lot of great work for agents. So I'm going to dive in right now, first starting with email marketing and the pros of email marketing. So a lot of real estate agents love email marketing for a lot of different reasons. There's a lot of pros here that you can really take advantage of when you're trying to grow your business. One of the first being that you can use email marketing very quickly to get a lot of leads. So the first pro here in email marketing is that it can be very fast to get many leads. Now, I'm not going to go into like the specific tools, but I will give a couple of recommendations. So one great strategy that I use that really helped me get some quality clients for my own business is using a combination of Apollo, which is essentially an email and a lead scraping tool, as well as Instantly, which is an email campaign management tool. And I'll put those in here too. So, if you use something like Apollo, the advantages here, and it's apollo.ai if you want to check it out. Advantages here is you can scrape emails. So what this means is that it's a tool that will go through the internet and it will scrape leads based off of LinkedIn and websites and other things, and you can target specifically the kind of leads that you want. What's really nice about this is you can suddenly get, for a very inexpensive cost, tens of thousands of leads for your business. Now, you might be saying, well, hey, wait a minute, are those going to be very quality? That is where you're going to need a quality email management tool to sort through them, because a lot of those are not going to be people who are ready to buy or sell immediately. And that's okay. You couldn't even service 1,000 new real estate leads if they came in your door immediately and looked to buy or sell in your market. So that is okay. But it is very fast at getting these leads so that you can just start getting off the ground and running, at least in terms of generating your leads. So you can use Apollo.ai or plenty of other tools. That's just the one that I've used, and I think it works really well, to scrape a ton of leads from the internet. And you can vet them. You can vet them based off of income or job, definitely location, of course, for your specific market. There's a lot of ways to do this, and it's really great, and it's not very expensive. I think Apollo costs like around $100, maybe for bigger plans, and you get more leads per month, slightly higher, a couple hundred. It's really not that expensive in the grand scheme of things. Now, Instantly, AI, so it's literally just instantly.ai, is a really powerful tool, and I'm going to write this so you can actually read it here, that lets you manage your emails. Now, what's great about this is it helps you walk through, and it has like actually a little bit of like a course built in for free that shows you basically how to build this out and use this system. So there are some great tools there, which I'll talk about the cons in just a second. Obviously, we talked about how it's fast to get many leads. It's also fast to send them emails, of course, but there's a caveat there. Obviously, we mentioned how it's very cheap, a couple $100 a month, I think, for Apollo. And I think the cheapest plan for Instantly is probably about $97 a month, I believe, at least at the time of this recording. And then also, of course, you just have many at-bats. So when you're sending emails to people, what's really nice is that you don't have only one chance to actually get the results that you're looking for here. When you're actually sending a lot of emails to people, it's going to take a few. And what's nice is that you just get a lot of attempts. It's not like you're going to get seen by somebody, they're going to instantly say yes or no, and then you never have the chance to get in front of that lead again. Some will definitely, opt out and no longer receive emails from you, which they're allowed to do. And you have to provide that functionality, which Instantly does for you. But a lot of people will not do that. So you have a lot of opportunities to test, to make separate offers, to try different headlines, all of these things that are very important when you're trying to find a proper marketing system for you. So you have many attempts with your leads, which is really fantastic. And a lot of people need that because a lot of times we offer stuff like, work with me, I'm the best real estate agent, or some variation of that, which doesn't really help anybody. There's no value there. There's no incentive for somebody to pick you over somebody else. And so it allows you to test these different things, like such as, I help this agent hit double their listing price, or get 10 offers in 1 week on their home. And there's a lot of different tactics there that you can try out to see what works best for you. And what's cool is that if it works really well once, it'll probably work again really well, and then also across different marketing channels, but that's for a separate video. So you have a lot of attempts, it's very cheap, and it's very fast to get many leads, especially if you're using an email scraping tool, such as Apollo AI, or one of the many that are out there. Now, cons. The cons are that it's really hard to set up properly. And you might be saying, well, hold on, Cole. I already have an email. I already have a company email, and it's all set up, and I'm ready to go. Yes, but the huge caveat with email marketing is that you don't want to use an email that you're using for day-to-day. Because what ends up happening is that there is essentially an algorithm for your emails that go out, and there's a track record, and it's really important to get this right, because if you get flagged for sending a bunch of spam content, automatically people's email filters will make it so that your stuff goes to spam. And that's really hurtful because you're just not going to get in front of the people who you're reaching out to and the leads that you're paying for. But then also on top of that, if you use your own personal email, then you're going to get to a place where even people who are already on your list, or not leads, but just people that you're reaching out to, they might not get your emails either because you're getting flagged as spam. And so that's what's really tricky, is you have to set it up properly. And it does take some time. You have to essentially warm up your audience, or your emails, I should say, and give it a good track record. Now, what's really cool is that to do this, basically what it means is that you need to send a bunch of emails to people with high open rates before you start sending it to a bunch of folks, blindly, who are not going to open your emails necessarily very often, right? Oftentimes we're sending like 100 emails and we're hoping for a couple of opens, right? So that's the kind of volume we're talking about here. Now, what's nice about that is Apollo AI lets you get a lot of leads for cheap. So volume is not going to be difficult from a price perspective, but you need to warm up your actual email there so that we can increase the chances that you show up in the inbox. Now, what's nice is that Instantly does a really good job of this. They have a warm-up feature and like this massive database of like their existing customers, where let's say you put your email in, a new email, which you're going to do. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. And then you can automatically have it warm up with their audience, which means it's going to get sent out to their database, other clients like them automatically. And then they're going to automatically open and automatically reply. And this just gives you a really good report card, so to speak, so that when you do start running your actual campaign, you have this like A+ report card of like high open rates and high response rates. And so when your email gets sent out to a new lead, you're very, very likely to show up not only in the primary, or not only just so that you don't get flagged as spam, but also in their primary folder instead of necessarily the promotions folder, which is another tricky thing. There are some strategies where going to the promotions folder, like on your Gmail, for instance, is a good thing. But for us, just getting in front of normal people, we really want to ideally get inside their primary inbox. That is the ideal circumstance. So Apollo and Instantly combined, they give you great ways to do this. And again, other tools do this too. The tricky thing is, though, it takes time to warm this up. So you're essentially going to have 1 month where you're just warming up these leads using Instant Leads internal tools, but it's going to take time. You're going to have to wait for those to actually get fed and built up for them to work well. Now, the other tricky thing is that you have to do a lot of manual stuff with your domain and with your email to also kind of bump it up. Now, Instantly covers a lot of this, but if you go into Instantly and you pay for a month or whatever and you go to their course, they'll walk you through a lot of this stuff. But we're talking about, like, if you're not familiar with email domains and website domains and all that kind of stuff, you're going to have like MX records and all these other things that you have to kind of organize yourself manually. Instantly might now do a lot of that for you. When I was learning this stuff, I had to do a lot of this manually. So I had to go into like the back end of Google Workspace. I had to basically get 3 different email accounts per different like workspace. So you could buy a Google Workspace, then you get 3 different email accounts in there. Then you get another one, you get 3 more email accounts. And that is because you have a cap on the amount of emails that you can send per day. And this is a high volume game. So if you're sending a lot of emails, you need a lot of email addresses, which also, by the way, costs a little bit of money. You're probably going to spend, $10 to $20 per Google Workspace, maybe 30, to have like 3 email addresses each, right? And so that's going to be like john@yourrealtor.com or john@yourbestrealtor.com and john@yourfavoriterealtor.com and all of these different things. So you do have to buy these domains and you have to organize it and you have to do all that just so that you can send a high volume of emails so you can actually get results relatively quickly. And so, yes, it does cost some money. It's going to cost you probably around, guessing depending on how many you do, which you have flexibility here, maybe like $500 per month, all things considered, when you're running this. So in the grand scheme of things, not very expensive to send 1,000 emails, up to 1,000 emails per day, right? And to get those leads and to reach out to them. So it's high volume, and you do have to do a lot of setup there. But what's nice is that now you have a system that once it's all set up, you can run it forever, right? I even like moved away from this and went to a different marketing tool, which I'll talk about in a second, or system that I'll talk about in a second. And I kept those emails for a long time because they were so well set up that even if I just sent a random email out of the blue from one of them, I knew it was going to show up in someone's primary inbox. So there's benefits to that, even outside of just this tactic. Just having a really built up and warmed up email is really helpful in a lot of different ways for businesses. But again, this is a lot of time and effort, and you can hire people to do it, and you can also do this yourself, which is what I did, and I knew nothing about it before I got started. So if I can do it, you can do it. But it does take time, right? It's fast to get a lot of leads, but it takes time to build up the systems the first time. And then once you're set up, it's pretty easy. Now, the last thing that's really tricky is that it does take a lot of that volume. The reason why we need to send 1,000 emails a day is because we're going to have only a few to a dozen to maybe 100 opens. And then obviously less than that are going to be people either clicking on your calendar link or responding or whatever it might be. And so that's the last step here too in terms of the cons, is that it takes a long time to set up. It's slow to get results compared to some of these other tools in here. But the nice thing is that it is actually relatively good at getting in front of people once you have it set up. So to get clients initially, I'll say, but then also you have to work on it. Because if you just send people a link to book a time in your calendar, that can most certainly work. And I've done that myself too. But you will have better success rates if you have some open-ended questions there. Like, would you be opposed to chatting about working with us? Or would you be opposed to hearing what your home might be worth? Or would you be opposed to whatever? All these things that can just be really easy ways for a cold lead to say, okay, I guess I'm not opposed to this. I guess I'm not opposed to taking the next step. And that's ultimately the goal of any funnel, is just to get them to take the next step. We're not going on a first date and asking this person to marry us. We're just asking for a second date. And that way you can build a relationship, start to like each other, because you also might not want to work with that client, honestly, right? We've all worked with clients that we wouldn't want to work with again. But you have to build that relationship, and you can do that better if you don't just send people a cold link, but you actually engage them in a conversation. But, and as good as Instantly does this with a Unibox where you can track all the comments and replies from all of your lists, You have to track that all the time, because just like with other forms, speed to lead is super important. It's just that this case, it's not when a lead comes in, it's speed to lead in terms of responses. If they reply, you want to be there quickly to make sure you can move that conversation and that funnel forward. So that's ultimately one of the other tricky things too. It can be tedious and you need to be on top of things. So that is email marketing in a nutshell. And again, it works. I've generated tens of thousands of dollars through cold email. It was just not the right thing for me personally, because of the tediousness of having to follow up. But if you have people on your team who maybe have a couple extra hours a day, then hey, that may be a great strategy for you. Next here is organic social. So the organic social benefits here is that, one, it's relatively easy to use. Most of us have posted stuff on social media before, and these platforms make it very easy to create content. If you watched this channel before, I recommend just create videos that answer questions that you know that your prospects who you want to work with will have. You know, updates about the market, you know, things that they shouldn't do, things that they should do. All of these different things that exemplify you as a really knowledgeable person, and also positions you as somebody who cares about them, who wants to make sure that they're having the best transaction possible. And the trick is to not try and sell them. The trick is to be like, hey, if you're working with a real estate agent in Syracuse, New York, then make sure that they ask you these things, or make sure that you have these things. It sounds sometimes to a lot of people like a missed opportunity. Like every time I post, I want to make sure there's a call to action, right? But in reality, no. Because when you have a call to action, it immediately triggers this thing in somebody's brain where they say, this is an advertisement. This person's trying to sell me something. I don't want to be scammed. Like this might be helpful, but it's just because they're trying to make money. Which at the end of the day, yes, we are making content to try and make money, but it's important to position ourselves as valuable first, and then get to a position where we're like, oh, they can actually help me, and good, I want to pay them because they can be helpful. But you can't lead with like, buy this thing from me, buy this thing from me, buy this thing from me. You have to lead from a perspective of value first to earn their time, to earn their respect, to earn their commitment to even chat with you. Sounds like a lot, but that's the world we live in. There's a lot of lack of trust out there nowadays because of a lot of marketers really ruining these things for a lot of people, making a lot of spam content. So it is easy to use, but we obviously need to be doing it the right way. Now, the next pro here is that obviously it's free. So if you are a brand new real estate agent and you have zero budget, then organic is free. You can post all the time. And one of my favorite quotes is that you can either be broke and you can either be busy and making money, or you can be broke and have a lot of free time. But you can't be both. And the reason why is because if you're broke and you have no time, then the time that you're spending isn't actually producing you any results anyway. So you can just stop doing those because it's not getting you any result that you're looking for, right? Unless it's part of like a longer plan, it's just going to take a little bit of time. A lot of us have been doing the same thing for 2 years and we're not getting anywhere. And by pretty much every metric, that's a bad ROI. So, you know, if you're spending a lot of time, but you're not making any money, stop doing those things that aren't making you a lot of money and start learning about and building strategies that have more promise, right? Sometimes you need to try a bunch of strategies before you find one that fits. I know I've been there. I have a pretty good strategy now that's working well for me, but it took me years to get there. So at the end of the day, that's just the name of business. Sorry, there's no quick, easy way to get rich, at least not that I have found in the world of business. But it is free, and that's why it's such a great entry-level thing for a lot of people. Really big people who are very busy in your market, they should be worried about brand new agents who have all the time in the world to start making content and can build a brand that can, over time, get them a lot of great results. And then another cool thing, and this is funny because a lot of agents think that this is a negative, but I like to call it automatic product market fit. Now, what I mean by that is that automatically you are going to only get in front of people who are interested in your content. That's how algorithms work. And don't think too much about like hashtags or stuff like that, or like, do I have to post at 9 a.m. or should I post at noon every day? That stuff does not matter. Do not waste your time on that. You'll run in circles forever, never finding the optimal strategy because there is none. There's no perfect time that's going to suddenly get you 10x the results versus posting an hour earlier. And there's no magic hashtag that's going to suddenly get you a bunch of clients. A lot of gurus out there want to tell you that there is. I can tell you, as somebody who worked at TikTok and worked at Facebook and content moderation and who's been doing this for years and years, there is no magic hashtag there. It's about the content. When you go scrolling on your social media feed, do you stop and check out the hashtags that they used? No. You watch the video or you swipe past it. That's how social media works. So if you get people to stop and they're the right kind of people, then that's perfect. And a lot of people say, oh, I'm shadow banned, or I can't get, I gave a presentation where an agent came up to me and they said, hey, I'm maxed out at 3,000 views. I can't get beyond 3,000 views. First thing, that might not be bad if they're the right kind of views. But the second thing is, if you want to get a lot more views, then you're not blocking you. Social media wants you to get more views, because ultimately these platforms make money when people stay on the platform for a long time and they get served a lot of ads, right? The more ads that you see, the more money that Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all these different platforms make. So their goal is retention. They want to keep you on the platform as long as possible. Now, if we have a piece of content that people watch all the way through every single time, it has a high retention rate, which means when you show up on somebody's feed, they stop what they're doing, they stop scrolling, and they watch the whole video. Basically, that tells the social media platform, wow, every time this person shows up on a feed, they get people to stay, they get people to watch. Let's serve that to more people because it's a safe bet. Every time a video shows up on your feed, the algorithm is making a bet that you will like the next piece of content and it will keep you staying there. It's if they guess wrong, if they bet wrong, and you see a piece of content that you have no interest in, you're gonna keep swiping until eventually you're like, oh, I'm not really getting any enjoyment out of this. I don't know why I'm here. I should go do something productive with my life. And so if you have a high retention rate, they will push your content. No one's shadow banning you. I've never even seen that in existence. On the back end of Facebook, I've never seen that to actually be a real thing. No one's shadow banning you. If you are not getting in front of people, they don't like that. They want you to be successful because it makes them more money. So don't blame the algorithms, blame your content. Don't blame the algorithms, blame the fact that you are not good at getting in front of the right people. That is ultimately the name of the game. These algorithms are really smart. If you make something that's valuable to buyers or sellers in your market, buyers or sellers in your market will see that. Now again, you don't need 3,000 views to get a lot of business from social media, but that's kind of a discussion for another day. So the automatic product market fit is built in. You don't have to worry about getting in front of people who are interested in what you're talking about. If you talk about buying a home in the San Fernando Valley in California, then only people who are interested in that will end up getting served that content. So therefore, you can just post about your business and you can post about how you can help your ideal avatar. If you only want to work with buyers, just talk to buyers. If you only want to work with sellers, just talk to sellers. If you make content like that, then your audience, your viewers, not necessarily your followers, because followers are not the same thing as viewers. It's another discussion for another day. But if you make this kind of content, you will build an audience of people who are interested in that stuff, because those are the people who will stop on your video and actually watch it. And the algorithms will say, let's show it to more people like John, not like Mary, because John watches it every time Adam posts, but Mary never watches. So we're only going to funnel this stuff more to people like John. These algorithms are really smart. Trust in the algorithms. They will know where to put your content. If you get no views, it means there's nobody really interested. So keep testing, right? You can't just put out a video and expect it to go viral all of a sudden. That's not how it works. Also, not really a great strategy. Again, for another discussion, another day. Now, going into the cons. Obviously, if most people here have tried social media, we know it is slow. Organic social media is slow to really get moving substantially for your business, right? Because if we're putting out content and we're trying to get in front of people who are interested in buying or selling, it's going to take a while and a lot of time to build up that trust and to show up on their feed in the first place, and to get them to watch, and then to get them to watch enough of your content where they say, man, I really want to work with James. Like, James is really smart, and when I'm going to buy or sell a home, I'm going to go to James, right? And so it is slow to get started, but it's wildly powerful. I mean, if you can build a brand organically and you can be patient enough and diligent enough to stay on top of the consistency needed to test and to get in front of the right people and to have as many at-bats as possible, then you can be unstoppable with organic social. It just takes time, and if you're not patient, might not be the strategy for you. Obviously, it requires strong consistency. And we all struggle with this. Unless you have a full team that's that's only getting paid to do everything that you're putting out there, then you're not going to have it. You have to be on top of your consistency. And again, not because there's some magical algorithm fix. It just gives you more chances and more at-bats. It just gives you the opportunity to test different hooks, to test different content, to test different mediums of content on the platforms. Maybe even test different platforms. But I always recommend you make content for your ideal audience and then you post it everywhere because they could be on any one of these platforms. So don't focus too much on trying to pick a perfect platform unless you're having a hard time staying on top of it. If you can't post to all those platforms, be honest with yourself and pick one that you're already the most familiar with, because that's the one that you're most likely to actually post on. And that's all you need. You just need one good platform to see great results for your business. And again, I've gotten business this way. I've put up videos that have no call to action, that are just trying to be helpful. And then I got a DM from somebody who was like, hey, I love this strategy. I've been saying the same thing to my agents because they run a brokerage. And I said, great, like, let's talk, see if we can work together. And ultimately we work together. And that's a great way to build an actual audience there. And also, too, you're going to have people go on your website. Or I've been on podcasts where people then go to my website and then they reach out and they become a lead. But I don't give credit to that website. I give credit to the fact that it was the organic content from that podcast that sent them my way and ultimately got me working with them. So you have to also be really conscious about tracking that and knowing that you might get leads from other places that stemmed originally from your organic, and you should at least credit organic with some of that benefit there. Otherwise, you're going to think that organic's doing nothing, when in reality, it's carrying, the team in terms of your marketing. And then lastly, of course, is confusion. And this is totally avoidable. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of people who are selling courses, who are selling these things that are, all the tricks and the crazy new algorithm changes for, social media nowadays. And in reality, and some of that is true, it's just not where you need to be spending your effort. If you're posting every single day and you're looking at the data, which is free, provided to us on the social media platforms, about what's working, and you're tracking the successes as organic social wins when they are organic social wins, then that's all you need to do. The other stuff, all the crazy hacks and all that stuff really does not make a difference. And unfortunately, you can't just change one thing and suddenly get everything to work for you. And by that, I mean, like, you can't change like one hashtag and suddenly get all those results, but you can change your consistency and definitely get better results. So that's super important. And by the way, I didn't get any leads, any business on social media ever until I was more consistent. So that's just my own personal experience. But I think if you haven't been consistent and you haven't seen results, that is likely the one thing you need to change to start to get in the right direction there. Okay, now lastly is paid advertising. People have, especially agents, have a love-hate with ads, especially like meta ads, which I'm super fond of. And by the way, that's actually my method of choice here for getting leads. I do a lot of organic as well. This is obviously an organic piece of content, but I'm also a marketer and know what I'm doing, and I'm spending more time on that kind of thing because I know it's important. So I would just recommend if you're new to these things, or if you haven't really seen results on any of them, just do one first. And that was me for paid ads, and that opened up some time for me to do other things, which I'll talk about. That's one of the big benefits of paid ads, is that it can save you a lot of time. So the first thing, it can be super fast. You can get leads very quickly, like that the day you start running it. And even if you could set up your ads very quickly, much quicker than email, and you can start running it and you can get leads immediately. Now that usually doesn't happen because you have to test. Again, you'll see this across the board. You can't just start doing one magic platform and everything works there. If that were the case, then everyone would only do that thing. You do still have to test. Does this video work? Does that video work? Does this headline work? Does this headline work? Does this targeting system work? Or does this targeting system work? You have to test these things out to know what's actually working for you. But it is fast to get results potentially. And especially if you're diligent, you can definitely get very fast results there. You can target or build for exactly what you need. And what I mean by that is that you can target exactly the people who you're looking for. If you're looking for people in a certain market, you can target a radius of that. Now, yes, in real estate, you can't target like just the zip codes anymore, but you really don't need to, right? There's no magic zip code out there for anybody, because at the end of the day, if you're trying to get people to buy in a really expensive zip code where your commission's going to be really big, well, guess what? People are probably, the vast majority of buyers are probably going to come from outside of that zip code. So you don't want to target by a singular zip code anyway. And if you did, you're leaving a lot on the table, because there might be a bunch of people who are not looking for that zip code, but are looking to buy a big property or sell a very valuable property and give you a large commission check there. So you can target based off of that. And I have other videos in this channel I recommend you watch for lead generation systems, where you can build out lead form ads that can vet out the kind of leads that you don't want. And those are super important. It's what I do for my own business. It's where I get 99% of my business right now, is from getting in front of people, giving them a really good offer, and then vetting out the people who are, yes, I might be able to help, but it's probably not great for them because of cost. Or other things, and it's probably not great for me either, because if I am working with somebody and like I'm working at, at a certain price point, and they want to work with me, and it's 120% of their marketing budget that is my cost to work with them, then like I'd have to work some miracles for that to make sense. And we've had some insane results, but it's not a good bet for them, right? And I want to work with people that I can help month over month, so that stay with us forever, right? And so we have a mutually beneficial relationship. It only helps me to get leads that I can help and do a great job for, and then they keep getting value, and then of course they stay with us and they keep paying us. That's just business 101. So you can target based off of these things. And again, I recommend, if you're really interested in paid ads, check out my leads video. It's, Realtors, how to generate quality leads with meta ads, something like that on this channel. But I highly recommend it. And then also here, you can also run it in the background. So this is the benefit here. It saves time. Now, as with all of these things, it takes a little bit of startup time, nowhere near as much as that email marketing campaign stuff that we talked about, but it can save you a lot of time. It can really benefit you greatly, because if you, and this is, I'll give you an example for me. I've tested a lot of ads, and we have a couple awesome ads that are really just crushing it. And then every once in a while, we add in some new ads too. I actually should be more consistent about that, to be totally honest. But we're testing new ads every once in a while, and we're running the ads that work best as hard as possible. And that opens up a lot of time for me, because I can get really qualified leads that need less follow-up. And that lets me have more time to build up this marketing channel, my organic. Because right now, our organic is really just getting started, right? To really see really strong growth here, to compete with paid ads, I'm probably going to be having to do this for a few years to build that up to be at the same point that paid ads is at now. Now, once it's built up like that, again, it's free. So huge benefit there. And ads do tend to go up in price over time. So it's worth it to do that, but I'm only able to do that because ads gives me a lot of time where I can not quite set it and forget it, but I can have majority of the benefit running without me needing to be there working it, unlike email or organic, for instance. And that gives me time to open up a new marketing channel for me, which is organic. So it can save you a ton of time, which is hugely beneficial. And you're going to need that, by the way, if you start getting a lot more clients. So that's really important. Now, cons, by far, this is going to be the most expensive. And honestly, it's because it's worth it. Now, if you don't have the budget for it, then obviously it's not worth it. But if you get to the point where you can start to afford this stuff, then that's where you really see some great results. Now, you can generate leads using lead campaigns on social media. On like Meta, for instance, which tends to be one of the cheaper platforms, you can get leads for $10 a day and run that, which is about $300-ish per month. That can be pretty cheap, and you can get results there, but it's going to be inconsistent, and it's not going to... It can be difficult to see great results there. I usually recommend somewhere around like $20 to $30 per day. So yeah, that can get a lot more expensive for a lot of people out there. I personally, just so you know, I run about $100 per day right now. And I will be expanding that as we start to get more, better results here. We have a new salesperson who we're onboarding, who we're probably going to open that up for more, so that they have more time, more leads to work with, and all that good stuff. So it can be the most expensive by far, because it kind of just goes up, and as you want to keep scaling, you're probably gonna have to spend more on ad spend. But it's super controllable, which is very nice. Now, you also need a CRM. This is really important because if you do everything right in paid ads, or honestly any of these marketing tactics, for instance, and you don't have a good way to work those leads or to operate those leads, then it really doesn't matter. And I used to run the exact same amount on paid ads over a year ago, and I was getting a ton of leads and no clients from it for months. And I was like, man, this is not working for me. And it's because I was just getting those leads and then reaching out to them willy-nilly when I could, instead of having a really good follow-up sequence and a built-in process to get them to book an appointment, and a tested process to get the best result and the most booked appointments possible. Now, we've built that out so that our CRM is booking a lot of meetings without me even having to reach out to those leads, which is huge, wildly successful. But that also comes down to the fact that, like, you just need the consistency. You need to be able to test and tweak things to find the best way to make it work. And then you also just need to have a really, really good offer. And that's where a lot of agents kind of struggle. You need to have a good offer. So find something that you can offer that's unique and really beneficial. Think about it from a buyer or seller looking to buy or sell. What are some things that you could help them with that might stand out to other agents? And by the way, a really cool trick is a lot of agents don't use this, but if there are grants or different kind of loans or things like that that are available that you're very skilled at and you know about this, you should lead with it. Don't say work with me and that's your call to action, but instead be, see if you qualify for this program. And you could start a conversation. You could see if they qualify. If they do, great, and that's more incentive for them to get moving quickly. If not, you still have built a relationship. And again, when most real estate leads, 80% of the time, real estate buyers or sellers will work with the first agent that they spoke with. Getting in that door is massively important for this industry in particular, right? In my industry, people do a lot of window shopping, right? So I have to follow up and be really good about all that stuff. But if you can just get a good meeting with them, you're 80% of the way there. So that is a huge benefit of the real estate industry. But you need the CRM, otherwise you're going to be getting leads. They're not going to be getting nurtured. They're going to go cold, and ultimately you're going to have a much lower result, and you're spending a lot of money, so it really can get dicey very quickly. Which brings me to the last part, is that you can lose a lot of money if you're not careful. So this is why there's a lot of digital marketing agencies who will run ads for you, because they have the skill set and then they can run this, and they have a lot of tested systems that can save you a lot of money, and it doesn't set you up for failure by saying I'll spend $100 a day and then forget about it for 2 weeks and be like, wow, I'm $1,400 in the hole and I haven't actually called any of these leads. And that sounds crazy, happens all the time. And I did that myself. So you really have to be careful about that. If you're getting leads, you have to work them. Otherwise, what's the point? So at the end of the day, guys, you can use any one of these systems. I've seen great results, gotten clients from all of these systems, but ultimately the one that worked best for me personally was paid ads, but that wasn't always the case. I had to get to a point where I could afford that. So test these out, or at least understand what you're looking for, your strengths. If you have a lot of time, maybe it makes sense to do organic. If you have a lot of money, maybe it makes sense to do paid. If you're somewhere in the middle, and you're pretty good with systems, maybe it makes sense to do email. Ultimately, you have to be the judge of that. But either way, I hope this was very helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.